Everyone is born somewhere. I happen to come from Mysore. I'm born in 1930, and I studied in Mysore and a little while in Bangalore. I was a student of science, and I gave up my studies, and I was doing my BSc and then came to Bombay in search of a job to do in films. And my career starts around 1952 in Bombay, and I started working in films from 1956. 4 years I was not employed, but I worked for various theatre groups in Bombay, more as a technician because I didn't know language, Marathi or Gujarati or Hindi or Urdu. I didn't know. I only knew my mother tongue, Kannada, and I knew Tamil and a bit of English. Well, that was my first apprenticeship that I got because I had a flair for drawing, and there was a small animation unit, what is called cell animation, not today's animation. It is the old style of making a cell and drawing it by hand, and I worked as an apprentice there for some months, and we used to make ad films there for some soaps and things like that. I've always been a freelancer all my life. It's not a dude. You make a choice in your life, and I happen to be a kind of a lover of cinema and the arts and theatre. So I prefer to pursue that line rather than do anything with my geology. Well, I was picked up from I was doing some theatre, and I did a play as a designer in that, Othello, Shakespeare's Othello. And Chetan Saab had come to see the play, and then he came to know about me, and so he called me over and offered me the job of an assistant director. Well, I didn't know anything about an assistant's job. I told him, you take me as a designer rather than an assistant director. But he said, no, I want you to be an assistant director, because he had already engaged an art director before. So I worked as an assistant director, and I couldn't even read Hindi, so I told him that, but he said, doesn't matter. The script will be in English, and so you'll be able to follow. So very rarely it happens for a newcomer, but Chetan Saab himself was acting the lead role in that film called Anjali, and it was a Buddhist period film. So it became my responsibility to call the shots. So it never happens for an assistant in the very first film of his, So I had to say sound, camera, and action, and even say cut. So when I said cut on some shot, he got a little angry. He said, why? Why did you cut the shot? I said, do it again. It was not good enough, I said to the director. Like Chetan Saab was an experienced man, but that's the kind of relationship we developed, and I worked for about 4 films of his, and then I left, went away to Delhi, worked in theatre there, and also as a job I was working in a newspaper office as a layout artist. I used to make the pages for a newspaper. Then this Chinese aggression happened in 1962. Then he came to met me in Delhi. So Chetan Saab said, "You have to work with me on this film which he is making, Hakikat." I said, "Fine, I will," because I was also angry with the Chinese. All the people who were working in that film were angry with the Chinese because they had let down India very badly. So that's how I came back to the films once again. Then I moved back to Bombay after my marriage. And since then I've been in Bombay for over 40 years and worked in theatre as well as made some films, not many. I just made 9 feature films, some ad films, then some documentaries, and some telefilms, teleserials, like that. Now I'm not doing television, I'm not doing documentaries. I wish to make a feature film if finance comes my way. Otherwise I'm doing theatre. Even today I have a rehearsal in the evening. When you're making a film, you don't know what you're really making. That it would become good, great, or anything like that. You just make an honest film. Beyond that, you don't know what you're making. It happens. The result is something else. The result cannot be planned. A film can be planned, but not a result. So that's why I say it was just an accident that it happened. वो भी इत्तेफाक की बात है कि हम लोगों ने एक स्क्रिप्ट दी थी फिल्म फाइनेंस कॉरपोरेशन को, तो करंजा साहब थे the heading the corporation. So he said, "This is a very negative character, so give us something else. Then we would like to finance you, but give us something else." So Shama went to Isma Chukda, and Isma Chukda narrated some story from the partition time which had happened in her own family. And she developed a script, and then we submitted to the finance corporation. Immediately it was accepted. तो उन्होंने फाइनेंस करने के लिए राज़ी हो गए, तो उसके बाद हमने फिल्म शुरू कर दी और कैफी साहब के पास गए उसके डायलॉग लिखवाने, और उन्होंने कुछ उसमें करेक्शन किए, because politically it was not correct. So he gave the political aspect of the film, because it was a very sensitive subject, because it dealt with the Muslim family being affected by the partition of the country, and people were migrating still from India to Pakistan, and from Pakistan to India, like that. Till about 1956, the migration was going on. So he gave it a little different shape to it, and इस तरह बनी. तो वो भी एक इत्तेफाक की बात है. You see, we were, Balaji and myself, I had worked in his plays, and he was a part of IPTA also, and then he had worked with us in IPTA, and I knew him personally, so it was easy for me when I cast him in the play, in the film, to get work out of him, and he was very cooperative and very sensitive actor, and he would even help us and guide us, other actors also. So it was a teamwork which gelled, and so was Kaifi Saab, who wrote this dialogue and the and there is only one Qawwali. The Qawwali was also written by him. So it was a whole team, a team of left-oriented artists and technicians. Even the technicians were leftists. So that's how the film was made. It is not a question of when you get it. It depends on so many things which happen. In my case, the film itself was a big achievement. So that's how I got it at a very early stage, an early age also. But what has happened now is it has become politicized, a lot of it, and also people are canvassing for awards, honors. There is a whole huge list which comes, recommendations, and people almost like applying for a job, they apply for an award. That is what has happened today, but that's unfortunate. There is no exposure to it. You see, after all, a documentary also costs a lot of money to make. But unfortunately, the television channels are not showing documentaries as much, because they are only interested in some stupid reality shows and dance shows and music shows and things like that, competitions and Sas Bahu stories. And see, the whole thing is deteriorated. The quality of television in India is very deteriorated, and so they don't encourage this kind of realistic documentaries. But there is a lot of audience for it. If there is a channel which specializes, like a channel like Discovery, which shows a lot of documentaries, like that. Well, if we had an Indian channel which showed only documentaries, it would have helped. And the government also, Doordarshan could show a documentary much more, much often, but they also don't do it. Now, Anand Patwardhan makes a documentary and they ban it. And then he goes to the court and fights his case, and then he gets it passed. Then they give a national award and it is shown. It is ridiculous. It is even Garam itself was banned. The first suggestion from the censor board was to ban. And later on, the same film got the National Integration Award. So it's ironical. So this is happening in this country. It is all too flimsy. The entire idea of censorship should be abolished. There should not be any censorship because that is against the constitution of the country. The freedom of expression is given by the constitution to everyone. The newspapers, the radio, the television channels and print media, or any other kind of music or singing or so they are all free. And there is only one thing which they want to censor, and that is cinema. And because many of us objected to it, we've been objecting to it for a long time, so now they changed the name of that organization. They call it Certification Board. A certification board is also, it has a limitation. It certifies whether a film is to be seen by adults, whether it is universal, or it gets a UA certificate where it will have a parental guidance, so you can take your children to see the film with your presence in it. So that kind of a thing. It's only to certify what category it should belong to. But the present certification board has objected to many films, and they are asking for cuts. And why? That means you are censoring it. But censorship is abolished. You are only certifying You have to certify. But they are not doing their job. They have not understood their job. So it is just fooling the filmmakers, calling it a certification board and yet continue censoring. So recently I saw just this week in Kerala, there was a film made in Malayalam where there are 3 scenes in that film which are nudes. One is a full figure. One shot is a full figure of a girl walking back to the camera, but completely naked. So that film was not given the certificate. They said you have to blur these shots or remove the shots. Producers refused it. So it didn't get into the film festival in Goa because censorship is required there. You need a certificate to show a film in. But all international film festivals don't have this condition. They don't have to show with a certificate. So the Kerala International Film Festival didn't ask for a certificate, and so they had 3 screenings of the film there, and those are the only 3 screenings of that film made in India. And Neha Mahajan from Pune, she's a Marathi actress who has done that role. That's how it is. It's double standards. We have complete double standards in this country. No matter which government is ruling us, there has been a certain kind of intolerance in this country. Every religion gives you a very strong identity, and no religion allows you tolerance in practice. Although all religions preach brotherhood, but none of them allow tolerance. And whichever government comes into power, they follow the same thing. There is no question about it. Even when the previous UPA government was here, before the BJP came in, what happened to M.F. Hussain? He had to exile himself and die in Dubai, and he was not allowed to come to India. We couldn't protect him. A government of India couldn't protect an artist of that stature. Are we not ashamed? Is the government not ashamed? You know? So it happens no matter which party is ruling. You see? Intolerance is there because identity of one's religion and caste and creed is more important than humanity. So that's why even our elections are only fought as per our caste or as per our religion. There is no freedom of any kind. It's not really a democratic country. We call ourselves a big democracy, but we are not a democratic country.